Like, I think cash flow provides you the freedom to do all of the other things in life.
See, now we're talking.
You know, and I'm a big traveler.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we've been to like 6 of the world continents. And what's beautiful about real estate is that becomes a reality.
What am I really good at? What am I passionate about? And what makes me the most money? And if I can like interlock those three crosshairs.
Right. You know, your income from commissions or that you make from salary is taxed. Sell in 1031, or I do what's called a cash out refinance, where I take a loan against it, which doesn't qualify as realizing it. So it's just more of the money stays in my pocket.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Alchemists with Evan Rundle. My guest today is Alexio Barara, who is a good friend and a realtor and many other things, a Renaissance man here in San Diego. He has sold over $400 million worth of real estate in this area. He's done 175 transactions in 10 years. He's built 10 plus ADUs. He manages a portfolio of 72 units in San Diego. He's a musician, a father, a photographer. Dude, when do you sleep? Thank you so much for coming on. How you doing today?
Thanks for that awesome intro, Evan. I'm really excited to be on your podcast. And you too are quite the Renaissance man. I think that's one of the reasons why we connect a lot. But yeah, man, I'm doing great. Happy to be here on a Saturday, hanging out in beautiful downtown San Diego. What an awesome set you have here. So thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. And we've known each other not too long. About a year now, a little over that.
You know what's funny is we actually kind of knew of each other when we were working, because I sold a property that you were master leasing or coasting.
Yep.
Right here east of downtown San Diego about 5-6 years ago. And then, you know, I knew of you. We never actually met or communicated besides just text. And then just more recently last year, we connected and we're like, hey, we do a lot of the same stuff. We're like super interested in the same stuff, and like we just kind of hit it off. So I'd say probably about 6 to 9 months.
Which is wild because like fast friends, so many things in common. And I think what really made me kind of reach out to you the most was your social media.
Oh.
So talk to me about that. We were talking before, you've shot how many short form clips?
Oh yeah. Well, in the last 2 years and through our mutual friend Brandon, I started really doubling down on social media this year. And let's see, I was doing it's been about a year and a half, so I've done close to 400 social media short form clips that have been posted on Instagram, and it's a marathon. It's kind of crazy to think back and be like, wow, I've done that many. That's nuts.
And what period of time?
I'd say over like a year and a half. And it's also cool to see the first ones and like how you evolve and just get more comfortable on camera doing this kind of stuff, you know.
100%.
At first you're just like so nervous, and so all of a sudden the camera's on and you're like, and then you know, now it's just you just kind of go.
Well, it's funny. I still feel that way. I just show it less, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's right now, it's happening down here, but it's like, all right, focus.
Yeah, business up top.
That's right.
Party in the stomach.
Freaking out. Yeah, exactly. And we both used, I think, the same videographer for a lot of that, right?
Yeah. Brandon Fortino, shout out to Short Form Pros, crushes it on the videography. He also helps, you know, as you can imagine. What do you talk about? 400 different times, 400 pieces of content. Brandon really helps me come up with ideas, researches topics that people are actually like researching and like looking at online, so that I can try to speak to those people. And so anyway, Brandon's been awesome.
Love that.
It seems like he's been helping you too. I've seen you really stepped up the short form game too. It's really looking crispy.
I appreciate that. Coming from you, that means a lot. You know, I think in today's age, you know, whether you love it or hate it, I think it's part of the deal, right? It's like, in order to have authority in the space and be relevant and also provide value. I have found in my own career, I used to have a bit of a scarcity mindset where it's like, you know, the what is it called? The gatekeeping or whatever, where it's like, no, these are my secrets. I don't want to do it. And what I have found, it's like, I can still show the what. I'm not necessarily showing the how. But if I'm giving free value and I'm giving free content, the majority of people aren't going to end up doing it themselves. They're usually going to try to work with you or hire you or collaborate with you, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Have you found that to be true in your...
Oh, yeah, and I like think it's like the abundance mindset. It's
That's
like
right.
there is so much pie to go around. You know, in the Airbnb space, there are thousands and thousands of units that can do Airbnb. Millions of units that can do Airbnb. And for me, it's the same thing with apartments. It's not like I share all of my ADU knowledge and all of my real estate multifamily sales knowledge for free.
Yeah.
I'm not worried that a bunch of people are going to take that information and become competition, because even if they did, there's so much opportunity everywhere
Right.
that I found just by having that abundance mindset, it actually encourages more people to reach out to me and do business with me. And I can tell you from all the short form, the money I've invested in short form, I've made back three, fourfold in the last year and a half just off of new sales or people reaching out to do business with me because they found me through the short form social media. So, I mean, I believe it.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, and yeah, I'm new to the short form world, so it's good to know that money spent is money coming back, and then also community and
Mhm.
relationships too. So
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like I think everybody is so short term minded, and I'm not to say that you are, but it's hard for us to see, put in a lot of work and then not see any return for a while. And that's
right.
like the game of short form, and it's really the game for anything that's worth anything in life. That if you really want to go the distance, you have to be willing to just put the blinders on and do the work for years and sometimes decades before you see the actual really crazy returns that really slingshot you above the those of those who were taking the more conventional route. So,
Well, dude, that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk to you about today.
cool.
So obviously, Renaissance man, music, photography, all these things. Talk to me about kind of like where you started and how that transitioned you into real estate.
So I mean, Renaissance man. I haven't been called that before, but that's flattering. Thank you. I think that I'm just kind of like, I think everybody's an artist at heart. They have
Mm.
something that they are passionate about that they are just naturally inclined to do and like are exploring. And for some people that's music, for some people that's photography, or for some people that's building and designing ADUs. Um, for me, I honestly I feel like I'm ADD. I've got a lot of different things that pull me in different directions, and it's hard to really pinpoint and focus on one. But throughout my life, I've never really spent time. Um, I never really spent time doing like the mind. I didn't do a lot of video games growing up. I was always playing soccer or trying to excel in different avenues, like learn new skills.
Mhm.
And that was what always turned me on. And what I found was when I'd learn new skills, it opened up new doors and it unlocked new industries and things that I could then become passionate about. So I guess, I just took the normal route, went through normal schooling. I just tried hard in all my classes, got good grades, got accepted to multiple universities, ended up going to UC Santa Cruz. Um, Majored in business management economics, but like most people, didn't really know what I wanted to do after college. Um, so what do you do in that situation? A lot of people just kind of, I think most people, you just kind of try something.
Mm.
And for me, I came home and I tried real estate. My dad said, "Hey, I just worked with this guy who helped me purchase an apartment building here in Vista. He was really sharp. Why don't you just hang out with him, see if this is an industry you'd be interested in?" And so went down the, I hung out with him for a day. Day turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I could see myself moving forward here." One of the things that got me really excited about real estate was the exit strategy, the light at the end of the tunnel, which is own property and collect passive cash flow every single
Mhm.
month, and have the freedom then to do what? Pursue all of the passions that pull you in different directions. So it like was like the key to unlocking the freedom for me to actually achieve a position in life where I can, decide to wake up one morning and paint the skyline of San Diego, or decide to wake up and learn a new ballad on guitar or something.
Yeah.
And even now I'm at a point after 10 years where I'm starting to buy more property, and it's covering most of my basic income, and now I'm just trying to get to that level where I need to be so that I can comfortably retire in a couple years. And for me, retiring just means get to a point where I don't have to like work every single day to
Right.
keep money on the table.
Which we were talking about a bit
Right.
before the pod, and so let's go back a step. So around what age? What you said your father brought you to real estate in Vista.
Yeah.
What time did that happen? How old were you at that time?
Oh, well, like, I grew up my that was my dad's main profession. He's half French, so I've come
And is
from an
that
international.
Barbara?
Yeah, Barbara. So yeah,
Barbara.
Barbara is my dad's family name. It's a French name. It's actually originates from Malta, which is a very small island. And what's really interesting is my wife, her lineage also happens to be from Malta, which is like a
Oh.
totally random like thing because it's one of the tiniest countries in the world.
Wow.
But it's actually Barbara is Pied Noir French, meaning it's like the French people who migrated from Algeria, back from Algeria after they were like kicked out after They colonized it back in the day. So anyway, that's where the lineage of my name came from.
Wow.
But my dad was French. If you talk to him today, probably most people understand like 3 out of 5 words that he says
Love
because it's
that.
a very heavy
So
accent.
you're first
Yeah.
generation here
Um,
on his side.
on his side, yeah. My mom is American.
Okay.
But that said, he came here. He actually started a French wine beverages import business. So he was importing wine from France and
Hmm.
hustling, going to all the stores, trying to get them to put it on the shelf. But
And
the
did
whole
you see that like when you were growing up?
it's funny because I saw a little bit of it, and I knew my dad was. I was like knew he was a hustler. He was like the kind of person who would talk to anybody. A lot of people you walk into a room, you're like, I don't know that guy. I'm not going to go
Hmm.
talk to him. He was
Hmm.
never that guy. He was
Right.
always in your face talking
Yeah.
to you, even though they wouldn't understand a word he was saying.
Sure.
Like.
And do you feel you
Um,
got a lot of like your traits from that?
I'm sure that, yeah, I definitely got a lot of my. Uh, it taught me how to break out of my comfort zone, and also he was like a man of action.
Mm.
My mom was more of like the planner, analysis paralysis,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
wanted to perfect everything, but then ended up not doing anything. Whereas
Yeah.
my dad was just the doer without perfecting any of the stuff. So a lot of the stuff, you know, he would build like a pizza oven in the backyard, and like my mom's trying to like make sure that all of the edges are done correctly because
Right.
he's kind of like sloppy with it. But hey, if it was up to my mom, the pizza oven would still be under construction 30 years
Sure.
later. My dad was able to get it done in like a year, and then we were able to have lots of cool pizza parties. And I mean, just everything in life. He was more of a doer versus a overcomplicator or
Yeah.
perfectionist, and I think having the best of both. Like I got the
Totally.
perfectionist side from my mom, and then the doer from my dad. So like I tend to be like kind of more in the middle. Definitely am not doing as many things, but I'm also doing them a little bit more
Mhm.
polished, I'd say.
Yeah.
But my how did we get into real estate? My mom's father was a developer in San Diego,
Okay.
actually in Houston, and then he moved to San Diego, and he actually built one of the apartment buildings that we own
Oh, wow.
in North County. And then he became a city inspector, and he actually understood the business of real estate. And he had 3 offspring: my mom and her sister and a brother. And the
Mhm.
none of them were really interested in real estate. So my dad was here, and he was just kind of entrepreneur. I'm just trying to find ways to make money to put food on the table, and he was trying to do the French beverages import. Wasn't like as lucrative. It was just like so time consuming driving all around LA to like San Bernardino and back trying to deliver wine places. It just wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
But at night, he was learning the business from my grandpa, where he
Okay.
was doing the books and the accounting to manage the rents, collect
Yeah.
the rents, things like that. They'd go collect rents, and this is back in the day when Oceanside was kind of sketchy. They had some buildings where they had to show up with a gun and they'd collect rent in cash. It was
Wow.
like, it wasn't to like do a hand, like,
Sure, sure.
like,
Right.
you better
Just in
pay.
case.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, hey, if someone tries to come and mug
Right.
us while we're collecting all the rent cash, we
Right.
don't want to get like,
Right, right, right.
totally, you know, screwed here. So it was a different time. I haven't dealt with anything like that, but that's kind of what planted the seed. My dad then took over that business, and then growing up, I'd manage the laundry machines, pack the coins every Saturday. So I was already exposed to the business a little
Mhm.
bit before I went to
Mhm.
college, and it always was on the back of my mind as something I might do. But that's kind of the story how I got into real estate.
It's a great story, and like I think what fascinates me, like when talking to other entrepreneurs, is the why, right? Always
Hmm.
trying to find like what's driving people, what's
Hmm.
because you've achieved so much, right? A lot of people would just be like, all right, like I did it, I'm done, and I don't see you slowing down. I know you said you want to retire in a couple of years, and really not retire, but just have time and freedom is
Right.
really what it sounds like.
Right.
So, like at what point did you feel you had this like ambition and draw to kind of do these things? Because, a lot of people would just go to school and get a job and whatever. Did you have this from a very young age? Were you always kind of like trying to, like, yeah, talk to me about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I was always like an A student and stuff, and sometimes, and I was playing water polo. I was like the captain of the team. I was like the captain of our soccer team. I was always just like, that was just what I did, and I probably was pushed that way to some degree by my parents. But whatever it was, like I always strive for the better grades, and then when there was extra credit, I did it. I didn't just not do it. It was just something. It wasn't even a question. It wasn't something that like I ever like was like, oh, do I need to, or do I need to like really get my act together and start working longer hours so that I can get financially free one day. Like that was just always like it's gonna happen.
Hmm.
It wasn't like should this be the goal? It was just
Yeah.
that is the goal.
Got it.
Now it's like
You're just
everything
always
else.
there.
It was a decision. It was like that was always what it was. I didn't even question it. It just kind of was like always in the back of my head. And then every other activity I did kind of was in relation to making that a reality.
Mm.
But I think that the why, that's the problem. A lot of people kind of question their why, and for me, I just didn't question it. I was like,
Like, it almost
this
doesn't
is what I
matter.
need to do. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't need to we don't need to discuss consider that topic at night anymore. It's just
Yeah.
that's the one. Now we just got to work on how to achieve that.
Sure.
And so
And what is it about real estate? Like, was there something about it that lit you up or that you had
yeah, I mean, well, what's cool about real estate is like the financial freedom that it can provide you. There's so many benefits to it. You have, I mean, a lot of these too, but the cash flow is one thing. If you can get
cash
to
flow,
cash
Alexio?
flow, Alexio, yeah. If the cat, that's my handle on Instagram, by the way, if you're wondering where that came from. But I call myself Cash Flow Alexio because that is my why. Like I think cash flow provides you the freedom to do all of the
Mm.
other things in life.
See, now we're talking.
And I'm a big traveler. Like
Yeah.
my wife and I, we've been to like 6 of the world continents,
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
every waking moment I'm trying to get to another. Like we're constantly dreaming and scheming to get to the
Mhm.
next cool spot that we
Mhm.
want to visit in the world. And what's beautiful about real estate is that becomes a reality. There's a
Yeah.
day where like the only question I have is like, where do we want to go today?
Yeah.
And how do we want to suck all the juice out of this life?
Right.
And so that's what gets me excited about it. And not only that, there's ways that you can, so the cash flow is one thing, but you get appreciation, depreciation, and principal pay down, which
Mhm.
are all of the things that really make real estate a way better ROI than most alternative investment
Yeah.
opportunities. Um, but also you have the ability to affect the value of your real estate. You can
Right.
force appreciation, which is something I've only in the last 5 years understood.
Yeah.
Used to only be about cash flow. How can I maximize and get six
Right.
to 8% cash flow? Now I understand you can actually build ADUs, you can renovate
Yep.
properties, and if you utilize leverage, you can get those ROIs 2, 3, 400% in some cases. It's wild. I mean,
Love
those
that.
are real numbers. And the second you start using that, that's what unlocks the door for you to, retire early if you can just compound money at 300-400% returns. Next thing you know, you're like sitting on 10, 15, $20 million of net worth, and you can just
100%.
park that somewhere and then live off the cash flow.
Yeah. And so I definitely want to make sure we have time to talk about I want to deep dive in best
Okay.
practices and the different revenue streams you have and talk about creative financing and
Sure.
all those things.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to tie in what you just said to that though, is like, I think it's interesting at the beginning, like you said, the why almost doesn't matter because
Hmm.
it's like, I just need to survive and I need to do
Hmm.
these things. And like, it doesn't matter. Like, I go to the gym
Yeah,
regardless of a why. It's just what
for
you
sure.
do.
Yeah.
Right. And
Hmm.
like, but then eventually, now what it sounds like, it's like, you ever heard of like the Tony Robbins push pull theory?
No, I haven't. I want to learn more about this
So,
stuff.
dude, so push pull is when it comes to psychiatry and like dopamine release,
Hmm.
especially. It's like usually there's two things to do anything. It's the carrot or the stick. It's either I'm running from a punishment, or I'm running from
Hmm.
negativity, or I'm running from something bad, or I'm pulled towards something. And most people start off in the push, like they have to feed their kids, they have to get, like you said, financial freedom, or they're overcoming a health thing, or
Hmm.
they're out of a bad relationship, and it usually starts from pain. But then what I have found in most entrepreneurs is at some point there's like this imaginary line where it's no longer running from, but now it's running towards. And just now when you were talking, you lit up when you started talking about travel and
Hmm.
freedom.
Hmm.
And so like, yeah, maybe the why is maybe not like almost who cares on that. But I think if as entrepreneurs, if we can stay connected, I know for me, to what is the reason I'm still doing this, if I've already like gotten out of the negative. And
Hmm.
it's like you said, and I think that for me, when I'm working with other individuals, I always love to know their why, because I think that's usually kind of where we find the connection,
For
right?
sure.
It's
Yeah,
like, what
absolutely.
do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
we're both rowing in the same direction,
totally.
and I can help you get your goals, you can help get me get my goals,
Hmm.
all ships can rise. So
Absolutely.
not to get too pie in the sky,
No, I
but
no, I think that's a good point, and I think that for me, maybe that's why it was hard to. Maybe that's why my
articulate it.
why was hard to
Yeah.
articulate because like that was like, duh, this is what I want. Doesn't everybody want this?
Right, but not but no, that's the
Yeah,
thing, not
yeah,
everybody does, and
that's
so,
true. Yeah.
I think it's like, and maybe you and again, like, I don't mean to put you on the spot, maybe you haven't fully, like, done that exercise of, like, "What's my why?" Like
Well, I haven't, but I can do it real quick. I can tell you the most important things to me, what my why, like the things that I just like. I'm like, there's a day
Yes.
where I'm gonna have the sound studio in my
Yeah.
downstairs with the drum set, the the guitar, the piano, probably a saxophone if I get to that level,
Mm,
which I will get to that level. It's just a matter of time. But like have that space where I can invite people over, say, hey, you want to come? Hey, let's go jam later. And then I
yeah,
can like learn this instrument, go down that rabbit hole for a couple years or a couple months, and then switch to this one. Like I love music. Like I
amazing.
love playing music. And
Yeah,
like I'm not a master musician by any means, but just the process and where I am even now, I always love hopping on the piano or picking up a guitar,
yeah.
um, and thinking about all the opportunities to one day become a pro singer like you were at one point. And but then there's that, and then I love photography, I love travel, and like I said, I started off by saying I'm kind of like an ADD passion guy. Like a
hmm
lot of people have one passion, they just want to go when they want to fish for the rest of their life.
hmm
Like, yeah, I want to do that, but like there's so many other things I want to
Yeah,
do too. I can't pinpoint one of them.
yeah. And nor
Um,
should you, and you
yeah.
shouldn't have to.
Well, and you won't have to if
Right.
you focus on cash flow, you
There we
know?
go. There we go. There's the why.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool, brother. Well, yeah. So great pivot into like, let's get to the nitty gritty of best practices.
Hmm.
So, incredible portfolio, and you're like your early 30s, right? You're like, do
Yeah.
you want to fast how old you
Yeah,
are right now?
31.
That's
Turning
bananas.
32 soon.
I didn't even start real estate till I was 31. So you're like way ahead of the game.
Yeah,
Um,
well, yeah, I kind of skipped my well, I had a lot of fun in my 20s too, but I kind of just hopped right in, and fortunate enough, I was able to find something that really just resonated with me and I
yeah.
was good at. A lot of people sometimes it takes a couple years to try different things and figure it out, and I don't think there's any shame in that, you know.
But it's interesting, and I forgot you said this at the beginning of the interview, and I wanted to make a note of it. You called yourself an artist, and then you said everyone is an artist, and I couldn't agree more. Have you ever read the book The Artist's Way?
No.
Dude, Julia Cameron, fantastic book.
Mm.
She wrote it like in the 80s and then redid it again. There's like Artist Way retreats. Highly
Oh, dude, I
recommend. I'm
need
not
to read
getting
that one.
paid for this, but dude, it's one of my all-time favorite books. And she says exactly what you say, that everyone is a creator. That's and then not
Hmm.
to again, not to get too pie in the sky, but like we're all here to create. Like other than like a beaver building a dam, we're the only animals that can completely shape their surrounding. Like we literally, I mean, look at the skyline behind us, right? This is unbelievable.
It is.
Some people look at this and they say, "Oh, it's greed or it's these other things." They look at it negatively, and
Hmm.
I think that's the wrong mindset.
Hmm.
I think it's back to abundance of like, no, look how many jobs this creates. Look how much infrastructure it creates. Look how much service it provides. I mean, it's
If this was
incredible.
greed, there would be a lot of ugly like boxes with no paint on the back.
That's right.
This is a beautiful skyline because we're catering to people's desire for creativity.
Couldn't have said it
And
better.
and I got to tell you, there's a couple people in some of these buildings. They are the most passionate architects in
Yeah,
San Diego at the time, and that's how they won these bids for these jobs. Because I mean, you don't get to a level where you put this much thought and this much, you know, this many years of developing your expertise in development and designing properties in a way that is functional for the space, but also is more aesthetically pleasing than that concrete box with no paint that I was talking about. You
100%.
know, so you got to appreciate that in every single successful person. There is, they really just doubled down on their own creativity and what they thought the world needed, and that's what I'm doing too. That's
Love
what you're
that.
doing.
Well, and I would argue that's why you're successful is because of that ADD, which, whatever, that's an
Yeah,
easy label to throw on it.
yeah,
I would say that you're a highly functional creative, right? A highly functional artist.
right,
And then
yeah.
it's aiming that and it's taking all those different skill sets
Hmm.
and putting it into one direction, i.e. real estate. And so let's talk about that because a lot of things you're doing are very creative. You're not just doing like fix and flips. I mean, you are, but you're not just doing that. So let's talk about forced appreciation, which is a term that may not everyone knows.
Sure.
Talk about an example of when you've done that. I know we've looked at deals where we're talking about
Hmm.
doing that
Hmm.
and why that's important and really just talk to the listener about what that means.
Yeah. So, what does forced appreciation mean? Well, appreciation in real estate means the growth of value over time. So, if you buy a property for $1 million, over time, naturally, just from supply and demand constraints, at least in San Diego, typically we see about 2% per year. Actually, really, we've been seeing more like 10% per year since COVID, like really big growth in values. But that's called appreciation. So if you buy it for $1 million, 10 years later, it's worth $1.5 million. That's $500,000 worth of appreciation. There's another thing called forced appreciation. That's when you actually force the value to increase. How can you do that? Well, if you bought the building for $1 million and all of the units were completely destroyed, you have a fourplex, you go and spend $50,000 per unit to really spruce them up and make them look beautiful, quartz counters, shaker cabinets, or maybe even go crazy if you want to get really creative and put, wood paneling. You can go nuts, make it look like a downtown high rise. But you're spending $50,000 on a fourplex times four. That's $200,000 you put into the property. You bought it for $1 million bucks. Realistically, the property is now worth $1,400,000, $1,500,000. Say $1,400,000. If you into it for $1,200,000 and it's worth $1,400,000, that's $200,000 worth of increased equity that you got from the forced appreciation. Now you can take that even further when you go and you build ADUs on a property. So that fourplex, say you build 4 more units in the back for an average of $100,000 per unit, and the units are trading on a brand new market rate unit for $300,000 per unit. Well, you just built 4 times $200,000 worth of equity growth from the forced appreciation. So
how do you finance something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because if you're about to spend $400,000,
Right.
where do you pull that out of?
Right.
It's not everybody's just got cash
Right,
400,000.
right.
I certainly don't. And,
Yeah.
this is something that's been really interesting because last year I partnered with someone. I gave him equity in one of my projects, and I wasn't super excited at the time, but I'm so happy I did in hindsight because he was a master lender and had been doing a lot of this kind of development, and he exposed me to the bridge lending that's available in San Diego for ADU projects and for renovations. And how does that work when you want to go and acquire a property? Previously, I thought, okay, I'd have to buy it for $1 million bucks, put 20% down. That's $200,000 I got to save, and then on top of that, I'm about to remodel 4 units,
Right.
spend $200,000.
Right.
I got to have an extra $200,000.
And when are you going to get that back? And
yeah, so it's like I got to have $400,000 before I can buy this thing. Well, no, he's like, well, no, actually, there's lending products that will let you do 10 or 15% down, and then they'll finance 100% of the renovation or 80% of the renovation.
Yeah.
So that all of a sudden your $400,000 you had to be out of pocket is now just $180,000.
Right.
Or if you're building ADUs, it could be like you're only spending $180,000 when you would have otherwise spent $600,000 out of pocket. So it's like all of a sudden I'm looking at this, I'm like, I can do 3 times as many deals, and the ROI on each deal goes through the roof.
And on less purchases, because it's just building on land that you're already. So it's almost like less transactions. You're almost like coupling all those things on one lot.
You don't have to do as many. You can just focus on fewer because you're going to make
economies of scale.
Right. You're going to make more money on fewer deals, and
same brain damage, right? So like 4 separate deals or 1 deal, it's like the time suck of that.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I think about now, because I see deals where I'm like, okay, I could park $200,000 and make $100,000 in 8 months, but I'm like, that's not maybe a good enough return. I probably could wait 2 months and put $200,000 and make $200,000.
Right.
And I can only do so many deals. I only have the brain capacity for that. I mean, not only that, I have like a family and different
all the other things
and a brokerage that I'm managing. So it's like I already and managing 72 units, which is like it's
so talk to me about that.
Wearing a lot of different hats.
100%. And talk to me about that. So when you say managing 72, are these like long-term tenants? Are they student housing? Like what is that?
So well, I'll be honest. I think 60 of the 72 are actual long-term apartment rentals, and those ones I'm managing directly.
Wow. No property management company.
No, well, I am the property management company.
So is that the Lions CRE?
No, that's BF Investments.
Okay.
That's my family's management entity, and since my parents retired 7 years ago, I've kind of taken over all of that.
That's great.
So I manage a portfolio of 50 units in Vista. No, it's actually 56 units in Vista and 14 units here in San Diego.
Wow.
And then we have another, I think it's like 12 units now. We're building a couple, so I don't remember the exact number now, but we've got another 12 units by SDSU.
Dude, I had no idea. I mean, we should underwrite those for midterm rentals and Airbnbs and see if there's a little.
Dude, I'd be happy to. It's tough to compete with SDSU because the students pay so much per bedroom.
Of course.
So we kind of looked into that.
So they're doing per bedroom.
Well, we kind of break it down per bedroom, because it's an average, but they actually rent it by the house. So it's a 6-bedroom house. We average around $1,400 to $1,550 a bedroom.
Yeah. I'm sorry, how much?
$1,400 to $1,550 a bedroom.
Yeah. You're not going to beat that.
We're not beating that with.
On like a 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom house.
Yeah.
So that's bananas. So and that's leases.
Yeah, I have a 13-bedroom house that's making $18,000. No, almost $19,000 a month this next year. We've got leases signed. And then I'm building a 21-bedroom property right now.
With like one kitchen and one living room,
Oh, no, no,
or
no, no, no.
okay, so
I'm breaking it up. The 13 bedrooms is 3 units.
got it,
So you got a 2 bedroom, a 5 bedroom, and a 6 bedroom.
got it,
The 21 bedroom is going to be two bedrooms, 2 3 bedrooms, a 5 bedroom, and a 6 bedroom,
got it.
uh, all with their own kitchens.
Yeah,
But and then that'll lease to students on a year-to-year basis, and we put management companies in place for those. So the
got it,
initial
got it,
question was
got
like,
it.
do I manage those ones? No, but I
Yeah,
manage the managers, and I'm talking to these tenants directly in many cases because there's like complicated things going on with the city and
yeah.
trying to navigate their concerns. And what I found was, with the student rentals, it's like
Mm-hmm.
these are first-time renters. They have had mommy and daddy paying the rent their whole life and
Mm-hmm.
handling any problem they've ever run into at the house,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden you're getting phone calls on how to like reset the switch on the, what do they call them, right by the
Like circuit breaker, or
when you have a plug right next to a
oh yeah, it's oh dude. Now, if you hadn't said that, I would like not RFI. Is it
yeah,
RFI? Yeah, yeah,
GFCI,
yeah.
GFCI.
GFCI, GFCI.
So like they're asking you how to reset a
Like
GFCI. You're like,
literally
okay.
hit the button that says reset.
Yeah, or asking you about how the blinds are stuck or things
Yeah.
like this, that you're just like, okay, come on, these are
Right.
a little problem solving,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
figure this out.
Yeah.
And that was just too much for me. I don't have the
Yeah.
bandwidth for that, or
Sure.
showing the same student group the unit 5 times because they can't decide because one of the kids doesn't
Right.
like it, the other 4 do. So like
No.
I was like, this is too much. Pay a management
Outsource
company
the
for it.
headache.
Yeah.
Outsource, and this is what we were talking about before. It's
Mhm.
like, buying back your time. Shout out to Dan Martell. And like, what am I really good at? What
Mhm.
am I passionate about? And what makes me the most money? And if I
Right.
can like interlock those three crosshairs,
Right.
it's jet fuel. And then what's making me money, but I hate. Okay, so that what you described, not hate, hate's a strong word, but that I
Mhm.
dislike and I don't want to do, and maybe I make a little less money,
Mhm.
but it frees up all my time to now focus back onto
On more
that
projects.
crosshair,
Yeah.
right? So, what is the thing that you enjoy the most? Because you do so many different things. Like, if you were to pick one, like, hey, this is my favorite part of all the things I do in real estate, what would it be?
Um, well, I gotta say, like, I I think all of the things that I have done have made me so much more effective in all of them because they all
Without question.
intertwine. So like you don't just look at it from when you're managing a property from a management perspective, you're also looking at it from an owner perspective or from a builder perspective, and like
Right.
all of the, and then that also helps when you're buying a property. You don't just look at it from an owner perspective. You like know all of the ins and outs and the issues you might run into with management when certain tenants that you're working with or certain strategies that you're going to need to execute. But
Hmm.
to answer your question, what's the thing that turns me on the most? The thing that gets me closer to my goal of being financially free. And honestly, today there's the two things that make me that my time that's most valuable for my time, and that is the brokerage, so sales
Mm.
commissions,
Hmm.
just putting together deals, and making new capital. And then honestly, I think I'm at a point where I'm making more doing just the residential value add and ADU build flips.
Love
Because
that.
on those projects, if I dedicate $100,000, I'm probably gonna be in a place where 12 months later that'll be worth 350 to me. So
Amazing.
it's hard to like, those numbers are so great. And the other thing about the residential like flips and value add forced
Hmm.
appreciation I do is
Hmm.
that your income from commissions or that you make from salary is taxed,
Yeah.
but
It's going to be my next question.
appreciation isn't realized unless you
Right.
sell
I was going to be
and
my next
cash
question.
out.
Yeah.
But like for me, I don't sell and cash out. I either sell in 1031 or
Hmm.
I do what's called a cash out refinance, where I
Hmm.
take a
Hmm.
loan against it, which doesn't qualify as realizing it. So um, it's just more of the money stays in my pocket. It's like having an extra 30,000 or 30% in savings,
Hmm.
because otherwise that would be going to Uncle Sam. So
Love that.
that too makes, if you had to ask me what's the thing that's most valuable that I do that gets me closest to my goal of becoming financially free, it would be the value add flips.
Well
So
said. I
yeah.
mean, shit, we can stop right there. No, we're not gonna, but like that was it. If you just
Yeah.
drop the mic on
But
that.
also, what there is one other thing I want to add in. Right, just this last year, we talked about creative things, and like there's just unlimited things you can apply yourself and problem solve and be creative on. And
Hmm.
right now, one of the things I'm trying to be creative on, which I think is also going to help me towards my overall goal, but also give back to the world in a way that not many people have figured out, is doing special needs housing
Okay.
and sober living. So I've got a house right now that actually we walked when we were
Yep.
looking at as Airbnb a couple months back,
Yep.
but I decided to go sober living with it.
Which is the right
And
call, by the way. Looked
yeah,
at the comps,
yeah,
not
yeah.
everything is right for
But
everything.
I'm really happy we did it because
Yeah,
that case study has now helped me figure out what will be the right call for us to work
100%.
together on Airbnb.
Yeah,
Because we talk about forced appreciation. You don't just have to do ADUs and value add. You can
yep,
also think about creative business strategies. One of them might be like what you do,
mhm,
which is the co-hosting for Airbnb.
that's right.
If you can juice up the income on a property
Mhm,
beyond what you would get from long-term rentals,
yep.
then you can also therefore juice up the value of that property to an investor who might want to come and buy it for that additional income that you've created.
100%. And that's why the boutique hotel thing, I was like, ugh, for a while. I
Hmm.
was like, all right, not,
Hmm.
whatever. But that's, I think, one of the greatest ways to do it because it's commercial property,
Hmm.
right? And you can automatically generate a higher NOI. Like, where else can you really do that? That then adds to the value of the property. Do the cash out refi like you're talking about.
Hmm.
You don't have to sell it, but you get a much higher valuation, and then it's wash, rinse, repeat.
Hmm.
And that, so that is this year. That
Yeah,
is the goal, really, is to get
dude,
a
it's
bunch of
awesome.
those.
And that's exactly the same thought process I have with the special needs and sober living housing. And then and just take it one step further, it's like giving back to society in a way
Yeah,
that's like a very feel good, need. And like you're helping
yeah,
people off the streets, you're helping people who are struggling to find places where they feel accepted.
yeah,
Um, but it's awesome, man. And just there's a ton of different creative ways. It's not
yeah,
just limited to sober living, special needs, or
yeah,
Airbnb. There's a ton of different models that have to do with housing and work in this real estate model. And one
100%.
more thing on your Airbnb thing that's really interesting that not nobody really knows about. This is maybe
Mm.
one of the secrets we were supposed to keep in the box.
Uh-oh.
But no, this is one we'll share today on the podcast. Is what's really appealing of that model for the boutique hotels is that it works as a depreciation tax shelter in year one,
Right.
100%
Yep.
depreciation with Section 179.
Explain that.
For any, well, hey, look, I'm not a CPA, so double check.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
a tax advice. I'm just speaking gibberish here, but check with your CPA. This is what a lot of people I know who are in the space are doing who are qualified to speak on the subject. But essentially, if you are a W 2 employee and you make, call it $500,000 a year, you're looking at a substantial tax consequence somewhere upwards of, maybe $100,000 if you're in that tax bracket after all of your qualifiable write-offs and whatnot. And you're like, I don't want to pay $100,000 to the government this year. That's a lot of my money. I
Yeah.
worked really hard for that. Well, there's a strategy if you actually invest maybe $200,000 of your 500,000 you made that year in a boutique hotel
Mhm.
that's worth $1 million.
Mhm.
You would get $100,000 of depreciation
Mhm.
that you get to claim in year
Yep.
one, and that, or actually, it wouldn't be 100,000. You would get, maybe three, four, five hundred
Yeah.
thousand dollars worth of depreciation in that year
Mhm.
one, which would then shelter all of your earned
Yep.
income. For it would essentially, you have 500,000. Oh, but I lost $500,000
Right.
here,
Right.
so I guess I'm at zero. And the IRS is like, yep, looks like
Yep.
you're at zero. But
Yep.
that only works for non-qualified, non-full-time real estate professionals with things that are qualified businesses like Airbnb.
Love that.
Um, whereas I, because I'm a qualified real estate professional, am able to use that same technique, but on any of the properties that I buy. So really interesting. And if
Nailed
you want to
that.
learn more about that stuff, shoot us a DM and we'll give you some more of those
Yeah.
tricks. But yeah,
Consulting.
yeah,
Yeah. Come keep following.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome, man. Well said.
Thanks. Yeah.
Well, cool. So, I think it's a good kind of pivot into like kind of the last section where you were talking about giving back, providing housing, sober living. I know when I was growing up, my aunt actually did that. She
Mm.
worked at this place called Agape in Miami, and it was a halfway house for women that were victims of human trafficking. And I saw the impact
Yeah.
that that
Shelter
had,
housing. Yeah.
dude. And honestly, like, yes, it was a non for profit, but it had jobs and the owner did profit, right? So it's like the
Right.
owner of the real estate profited,
Hmm.
the company was a not for profit and it had jobs that it was doing giving back and it was providing house. So it was like a threefold thing. That's what we were talking about earlier, like all ships rising. Like I
Hmm.
think it can be both and not either or.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, well, he's making money on it, so it's not altruistic. It's like, well, no, it can be both things. Like you can provide a need and a service and then also still make money. They don't have to be mutually
Dude, and
exclusive.
not only that, it's like I've been to a lot of sober living houses. I've been seeing some really good ones. I've seen some bad ones because I've sold them by San Diego State.
Mm,
There's a lot of them over there because it's a similar model to the group housing that students use. So those houses work well for the sober living too.
mhm,
But I'm trying. on the house that I'm creating right now, I'm trying to take it a step further. I'm like, okay, these are all the things they were doing right. These are the things they were doing wrong. And these are
Mhm.
the things I think would be cool if I lived there. So I'm like decking this place out. I'm spending a lot more money than I probably need to, but
Yeah.
I just want this to be a cool place. And I want it
Yeah.
to be successful. I want it to be something I can replicate. So I'm doing like a little Buddhist garden in the corner with a
Mhm.
pond. We've got cornhole. We're gonna have two different ping pong tables, a huge area outside for two huge
Let's
tables.
go. That
And
sounds
to
awesome.
make it a place that's like cool and like I think conducive to recovery.
Yeah.
And also not only that, it's got epic views of downtown and the
Yeah.
Coronado Islands and the
Love
bay.
that.
So it's just I think it's going to be a better product than what exists.
Amazing.
And so yeah, I do care about getting back. I could spend $100,000 less on this remodel,
Mhm.
probably do just fine, but I'm taking it at that extra step because I actually care about these people's recovery.
Well, see, there's a beautiful why, right? It
Mhm.
grounds you in something bigger than
Mhm.
yourself. It connects you to this service, this
Right.
impact.
Yeah.
And dude, like I'll be real with you. Like I don't talk about this too much, but like there's days where like I don't want to do anything.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I have struggled with mental health in the past. I have
Mhm.
struggled with drugs and alcohol in the past.
Mhm.
And there's days where like I have to think of, oh, wait a minute. I've got people that work for me that feed their families because of
Mhm.
this company. I've got guests that are taking these trips that they're saving up for years to take and
Mhm.
providing a service for them. And honestly, there's days where it's like just thinking of that, it's like, all right,
That's
now I
enough
can
for you. You're like doing it for these people.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so like with you,
Mhm.
I what I'd love to know is because the kind of the theme of the show is like alchemists,
Mhm.
right? Like you're taking these hard things and turning them into gold. Is there something personal you could share with us that like maybe it was a hard time in your life, a dark time in your life that you can think
Yeah.
of now looking back, oh
Mhm.
wait, I turned that into something for good.
Yeah, and I think that is a skill, and one that not a whole lot of people know that they have. A lot of
Mm,
people don't know that they can look at things with the glass half full or the glass half empty approach. That's a choice.
mm,
It's not like this happened, therefore it's bad. It's like this happened. Well, what did I learn from it? Okay, that actually makes me stronger moving forward. So the best example I can talk, and I've said this on a couple podcasts before, is that a few years ago, actually on one of these properties right behind us, I invested with a syndicator in town, and I was a naive real estate investor at the time, and we actually over the course of 2 years invested $500,000 with this guy, and I was at a point where I was just so busy learning brokerage and mastering brokerage, I just didn't have the time to learn and take the leap of starting to do renovations. There's only so much you can do at any point. So I realized that, and I said, okay, well, I will be ready in 2 years. I just need to spend the next 2 years mastering brokerage. So for now,
mm,
we're going to park this $500,000 with a syndicator. Hopefully,
mm,
it turns into $600,000. Gains $100,000 in the next 2 years, and then we can take it, and I'll have more full
mhm,
control over it.
mhm,
It turns out that the guy was a complete crook, and he's actually serving time in jail right now. And why is he serving time in jail? Well, he completely lost and stole or laundered or misallocated $600,000. In the end,
mm,
it's poof. And we're one of many different investors who that was affected by this particular person. So it was wild because we were really good friends. We were
mhm.
working out together. We were going out on like weekends, and it turns out the whole time he was just completely scamming me.
Well, we
And
spoke
yeah,
about this,
yeah,
and
and you know
we
this guy
won't
too. Yeah,
say,
yeah,
yeah, much about it, but
of
yeah,
course. So
I
anyway,
know what that felt like,
it
dude.
was
Not on your
but
level, but
well, like for me, I remember it was like around COVID time, 2020, and I just was like, one of the representatives called me and said, "Hey, just want you to know that this is a complete scam, and
mm,
all the money's gone,
oh my
and you
gosh,
need to get it out." I said, "What?" Like this is
wow,
like 9 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday. I was like, "Oh," like my whole life, I was like $500,000. I was just
mm,
like my stomach
that makes
sank,
me
and I was like,
cringe, dude.
I
Yeah,
was like, "What?" Like,
mm,
no way. And then and then like all of it started to unfold over the next couple of days, and was just it was less about like the money itself. It was just my faith in humanity. I was
yeah,
like I felt like so violated, and that just the lack of empathy,
yeah,
like for this guy to just completely. I mean, we were touring a project that we allegedly owned for 18 months. We toured it like 5 times. Turns out we never owned it in the first place,
that's
and
wild,
it was really a crazy Ponzi scheme.
terrible.
But it caused me trust issues within myself, and I was like, okay, well, I can't trust anybody. Is everybody a
Mm,
psychopath? This is nuts. Like, it took me some time to get over that. But what did I do? I didn't just like get down on the dumps. I said, okay, well, in the end, what can I pull that's good from this? Well, it's just $500,000. I tried to rationalize it. There's just 500. There's
Just
more
numbers on
money.
a screen.
There's more money than I ever had at the time.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm going to be making way more money than this in my
Let's go.
future, and I'm happy it happened today versus when I'm be dealing with much larger dollar amounts. And since then, I've seen other psychopaths in the real estate space, and I've been able to like check that and stay away from them. I'm way more cautious. I always have contracts that I actually review versus kind of the glance over and trust. Hey, no, he's a good guy. You know, it's business. I don't want to make the same mistake twice. You know, shame on or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We got
So,
through it.
yeah.
That's a hard one.
So anyway, example of turning something around. I mean, like I said at the start, everything is glass half full approach. If I wanted to, I could just be down in the depths. Why did this happen to me? Like, and
100%.
never, you know, never
And
come
maybe
out of
quit.
that hole.
A lot of people would just say, screw real estate. I'm done.
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
do that.
And like, I'm not, you know, I decided I'm going to come out stronger, and I certainly have. And I think that we talked about it being a skill. Nobody, you know, one of the things in college was one of my favorite classes was my it was like psychology and philosophy. And it was reading Thoreau and Sartre. And one of the things Sartre says is man is condemned to choose. And one of the things that Thoreau says is, well, man's ultimate power is their ability to choose their attitude in any given situation. And that's the biggest thing. You're condemned to choose. You have to choose one or the other. And the second thing is nobody can take your ability to choose your attitude.
Yeah.
So what's your attitude? The glass half full. Take the high road every single time, and then then you don't get stuck in these ruts. You just like become stronger. You move on. You course correct, and you move towards your goal.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. Attitude is altitude. I think of that all
Yeah.
the time. And it
Yeah.
is a choice, you know, like there are legitimate things that happen that you have the right to feel victimized about, right? But then you can choose to do what are you going to do with it then, right? So it's like, does it serve me to walk around with this woe is me, self-pity, victim mentality? And does it serve the world to do that?
No.
Probably not.
No.
It's justifiable and it's valid, right? And there's a season for it. I can grieve this thing. I can feel it. I can go through it. But then, okay, at a certain point, now it's time to do one of two things: either let it destroy me and define me, or use it as fuel, and let me launch this and alchemize it. See what I did there? Into something that's good, and not just for me, but for others. Because this story, and that's why I love podcasts, and that's what inspired me to do this, is like somewhere someone's going to be listening to what you just said, and they're going to be in the gym, or they're going to be in their car, and they just had something happen to them, and it's going to be like, oh, wait a minute, why don't I choose differently? Why don't I, okay, let the feelings come, they're valid, go through them, and then now I have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And that's what you said, it is a skill, and it's also a muscle.
It's a muscle.
And what I have found is that muscle gets stronger or weaker depending on how you use it, right? Momentum works in both ways. So the same way that I can use it over and over and over again, I can also go the other direction over and over again. And that leads to total chaos and insanity and, going off the deep end.
It's about forming your habits and being intentional about that. And it's a habit to choose to see
That's right.
the glass half full versus the glass half empty.
Well, it's a choice, like you said, and it's a muscle.
Yeah, and you have to work it. But for me, I think lately it's been a lot easier, and it's so great when you get to a point where you're used to seeing the glass half full, because you don't get down in the dumps very often, because you're just so used to just not seeing things the negative way, seeing in the positive way. And it's I mean, life is great, man. I really hope that this resonates with people, and people see a path to forming their attitude, and seeing a path to finding financial freedom. Because when you see life this way, when you see all the opportunity out there, it's just such an exciting game. Like every day, it's fun to wake up and take the next step. Sometimes you're like, okay, well, I got a lot of work today to do, so I get towards my goal. And some days I feel that way, like you said. Some days you're like, oh, I got a lot to do today, and then you got to remind yourself what you're doing and why you're doing it. But I mean, isn't it fun to have wild ambitions, like the ability to travel perpetually one day, or just play music nonstop, not for someone else, not because the fans you got to make money from the fans, but because it's what you intrinsically want to do.
Yes.
Like
freedom.
And then Rick Rubin says this thing. He's like, when you're creating for yourself, you're intrinsically creating for everybody else. But it's a lot harder to create for yourself if you're doing it for money. if you don't have to worry about the money anymore, it's like, what are you creating? Of course you're creating for yourself, because that's the only reason there is to
Yeah.
create. So
Right.
like, I think it unlocks your ability to really tap into your inner creative calling,
Yeah.
and then also in doing that, you're actually going to be creating what the world wants and what the
Yeah.
world needs.
Love
So
that. Well, dude,
yeah.
it's been an absolute pleasure. I just have one more question for you,
Sure.
and we'll probably wrap up. Is like, give me a day in the life in a mindset, from a mindset perspective of these habits that you're talking about, right? Like actual, tangible, real world things. So, like we've talked about it on a macro. Let's get to the micro. Morning routine. What's that looking like? Talk to me about like just a day in the life of those habits that you're talking about.
Well, my day in the life is a little skewed right now
Sure.
because I've got a 2-year-old, and
Right. Right. Right.
I've got another baby due in the next
But
two
see,
weeks.
parents are listening to this, and so that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
you have the ability to provide context and help in a way that not everyone else
Mhm.
can, right? And so
Mhm.
we're all able to provide these different things.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, I would say typically when my day in the life has transitioned a lot since I become a father. That it is a wild idea. You don't really think about the time commitment of having a baby. I don't know. At least I didn't. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just kind of hit me like a wall. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't ready to like lose 5 hours a day that I used to just be able to allocate to, you know, decompressing or all these other tasks that I typically do.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, baby comes into your life, and you're still trying to grow and learn, and
Right.
and and you are all this is a number one responsibility out
Yeah.
of
Goes
everything
right to
else.
the
So
top. Yeah.
everything else, yeah.
Immediately. Yeah. Yeah.
And so and that was one baby. And over the last 2 years, I've gotten used to that. I've got my efficient systems. It's like I go to work, I try to get there at 8. And then it's really important that I get there at 8, because really from 9 o'clock on, the rest of the day is like people are hitting me up to put out fires,
Hmm.
and my list of stuff didn't really get done. So I always try to get that done from 8 to 9.
Hmm.
Um, it used to be, before with a kid, I'd get there at 7 and I'd leave at 7 p.m. But now it's like I get there at 8 and I get home by 5. So
Hmm.
there's 3 hours a day,
Yeah.
the workday that are gone. But I always try to get my important tasks every day. I start the day by I open up an email, a draft email, and then I write down like kind of like my goals, the ones that we talked about today. I'm
Hmm.
Cashflow Alexio. I will make $1 million this
You write
year.
this down.
Yeah, yeah. On
Pen and
my
paper or a
No, I do it
computer?
on my
Okay.
email.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
on a draft. So that's just my way of doing it.
Yeah.
People do it on
Yeah.
notes,
Yeah.
but I just do it on email drafts because it saves the drafts. And then I
Love
can go
that.
back and
Yeah. Yeah.
send it to myself at the end of the day. But then even if I have it the day before, I write down all the tasks just so it's like the mental exercise. It takes me about 15, 20 minutes as I start the day.
Hmm.
But as I go through all of my different tasks in my work tasks, my health goals, and then my family goals,
Yeah.
I like bold the three that are the most important, and I try to take care of those between the hours of 8 and 9.
Okay.
And
So
that
eat the
way,
frog.
yeah. So that
Hardest
way I get
thing.
my things that
Sure.
are going to make me happy, excel
Yep.
towards my goals, out before the day runs away from
100%.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
And then yeah, I get home at 5, and I usually spend time with my wife and kid, and give her a break. I take my son on like a walk to the park or something,
Hmm.
and that's my ability to spend time with him, and grow closer with him. But also, I being an entrepreneur, you're always kind of feeling like
Hmm.
you're on. It's hard to put
Hmm.
the phone
Hmm.
down, especially when I'm with family. I like realize I'm like, this is not good. So I
Mm.
actually put the phone down,
Yeah.
and I'm like unavailable from
Yep.
at least 5 to 6:30, 7.
DND.
Usually
Can't
when my
get me.
son, but and then usually when my son goes to sleep, that's when I'll pick up and I'll say, okay, some people try to hit me up. I'll text
Sure.
them back, or I'll try to finish up like whatever emails and stuff I had to do from the day, that I didn't get to from like 7 to 10. And then I just do it again the next day, and it's a ton of working. I talk to a
Mm.
lot of friends who are like, I work 9 to 5, and I don't pick up the phone or
Right.
the laptop, and that's like a lifestyle I'm not used to. I've never
Yeah.
been there. I work way more hours than I think most people do, but I'm also planning on retiring, like in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
and being able to move. When I say retire, get financially free, because I'm
Right.
never gonna just stop doing
You
things.
can't. You can't turn it
I'm
off.
gonna
There's
I'm
no
gonna
way
keep
you're gonna
coming up
turn it
with cool
off.
business ideas,
Yeah.
and what's gonna be cool is I'll be financially
We're gonna
free.
have a band by then. No.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be touring
We'll be
Europe.
touring. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But it'll give me the ability to work on whatever I'll just be in a supermarket. I'll notice there's a problem with the way that they deliver fish or something. I don't know. I'm just
100%.
coming up with an idea.
Systems
All of a
constantly.
sudden, I'll be like, huh, well, I was talking to this guy the other day down by the dock, and then I talked to the guy over here who's got the truck business. Why don't I connect all this and we'll like fix this problem? Like these are just the things that go that my head is
100%.
naturally like constantly trying to problem solve. And so that'll be what I continue to do, even when I don't have to for money. I'll just be thinking of things that actually, meet my creative vision
Love that.
and keep working it through. But in the meantime, I got to keep working the long hours and be extremely efficient with my time. So I'm still spending time with my family and making the most of my days so that I can achieve the goal of tapping out, moving to Europe with my family in 5 years.
That's it. Love it. And you shall. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, cool, brother. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on, and I really hope we get to do some deals this year. Just for the people listening, who is your ideal client? How can people find you if you want to work with people? Like, talk about that for a minute as we
Yeah. So
close
I mean,
out.
my main new income producing activity is still commercial brokerage, selling
Hmm.
multifamily apartment buildings, and helping a lot of my clients do what we talked about on the podcast today.
Hmm.
Buy a if there's their first time, buy a duplex, triplex, add a 2 units, renovate the existing, and build real wealth faster than just
Hmm.
buying a condo downtown, like the standard
Right.
residential realtor would say to them.
Yeah.
Um, I you know I'm happy to, if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to me. You can send me a DM. I'm a Cashflow Alexio on Instagram, and that's a great way to connect with me. I talk to people on there all the time, giving out free advice. And if you're a seasoned investor looking for multifamily apartments, we do bigger deals too. Like I've got a 20 plus unit property in Mission Hill, San Diego. We have some big stuff in North County that's value add, and we're constantly coming across deals like this. My group, we've got about four people on our team right now. Myself, my business partner Adrian, Eric, and Brian, and we're all hustling on the phones every day, and I'm helping them, going on meetings. So we've got the infrastructure, we've got the deals for you. So reach out, and if you just want to learn about ADUs, I'm also doing that kind of stuff too. So happy to provide any insight I can based on the stuff that you heard on the podcast today.
Right on.
Yeah.
Anything else before we close?
Well, hey, one last thing for you, Evan.
Yeah.
What is your why?
Oof. How much time you got? That's a whole other episode. Several whys.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're like me, the
several
ADD
whys.
type.
Yeah, yeah. And it depends on the day, depends on where we're at. And like I said, there's different seasons in life.
Hmm.
So my why has changed over time.
Hmm.
But if I'm really gonna answer that question honestly and sincerely, it's going back to what we talked about earlier. I struggled a lot in my teens and early 20s
Hmm.
and like almost died many times. And like when I come on your pod, we can talk about this.
Sure.
Many near death experiences, tons of trauma,
Damn.
tons of things.
Wow.
And the reason that I do the things I do, other than obviously the financial benefits, is really to be a service, man. And I think I want to impact, not I think I do want to impact as many people as I can, help as many people as I can. Life is short, dude. And for me, it's not really about me anymore. And I know that sounds like a trite thing to say.
Hmm.
Obviously, like I still want things and I
Hmm.
still want to
Yeah.
travel and do all these things and have a family and
Yeah.
financial freedom and own a jet and
Yeah.
a boat and all those
Yeah.
things. But it's bigger than that now. It's bigger than just what do I want.
Hmm.
It's how can I impact the most people possible in the most positive way possible while we're here, brother.
Yeah.
That's my why.
That's awesome,
Yeah, it's a
brother.
big one.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
well, let's make it happen together,
Let's do
man.
the next
Yeah.
pod. I'll come on
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah. Appreciate it,
Awesome.
bro.
Yeah,
Hey,
and then we'll work on it together.
thanks for having me
Love
on,
that.
brother.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
pleasure,
fun.
bro.
For sure.